Welcome, I'm Jon Caldara, president of the Independence Institute and your devil's advocate. Later on, we'll be talking with Brian Watson, but first, if you don't know about the Institute for Justice out in D.C., now actually in Virginia, you really ought to. It's an incredible organization. Lee McGrath joins us from the Institute for Justice. Give me the quick definition of the Institute for Justice.
John, great to be with you. The Institute for Justice is a libertarian public interest law firm. We spend most of our time suing the federal government, state governments, and municipal governments to protect our clients' constitutional rights. And we're lucky. We don't have to charge them any money to do it.
You just have to find donors. What IJ does that has a little twist compared to most public interest law is that it has a great educational value as well. While these issues are crucial and important, such as the Kelo decision, which sadly you guys lost, but said the government now has the right to take private property and give it to other private individuals. But you also do things like liberate people who want to do hair braiding and who are regulated out of existence, and other small businessmen who this might not be a huge issue to those of us walking around on the street, but to them it's their livelihood, and it teaches a lesson.
It does teach a lesson. So we litigate not only in court, but in the court of public opinion. We look for sympathetic clients who really represent the American dream of opportunity. So we love immigrants. We love people reaching for the first rung of the economic ladder who face irrational barriers. And those are the type of laws against which we love to sue.
All right. You're very good at not ending a sentence in a preposition. You must be a lawyer. So let me ask you about, a lot of people today are in service industries. That is, it used to be you got a job with a company early on, you did your 30 years, you retired. That world is gone now. We have an entrepreneurial spirit, and people do a little bit of work here, a little bit of work there. They do something here. They teach guitar on the side, and as you said, some want to braid hair on the side. But we have something called licensing, and for good reason, don't we?
Not for good reason. Today, your reputation is much more important than a piece of paper hanging on the wall issued by some licensing agency. Your reputation is the best consumer protection, and that reputation is spreading easily on Yelp and across the internet. So what we like to do is challenge licensing laws, in part because they are now the biggest labor institution in the United States.
Well, first of all, let's get a definition. When we say licensing, what we're talking about is you go into a barber and he's going to cut your hair, and on the wall he has a piece of paper. And the piece of paper says that the state of Colorado has certified that Jon Caldara has been trained in cutting hair, therefore you don't need to worry about him. He's covered, he's been duly trained. And there's a certain security you feel with that. It's nice to know that when you go someplace that these people know what they're doing. When I go to a doctor, I want to see a certificate on the wall that says, this guy has been certified to do this. You're a lawyer, for God's sake. You've been certified by the Bar Association that you know your craft. And therefore, we assume you're the right guy to go to.
Licensing is the permission slip that government gives for people to start a business, but it's not very telling. I have a license from the Supreme Court of the state of Minnesota, and from one from Wisconsin, but that doesn't say anything about my ability. My ability is better judged in the marketplace by my reputation, what my clients say.
Let me take you on that.
Please.
So, if I'm in a situation and I don't know who to go to, let's go with a lawyer, knowing that the guy is at least certified to practice law tells me that at least he has a bare minimum. Now, I can go over and do reference, I can go to Yelp, I can go talk to people, I can do all sorts of things. But when the government gives somebody that slip of paper that says you are certified to be a daycare provider, you are certified to be a planner for parties. For a while there, the Colorado AG's office, I think, was looking at having certification requirements for yoga instructors. And God knows you wouldn't want to go to the wrong yoga instructor. You'd be tied in a knot you couldn't get out. But isn't there a certain amount of security for people who don't have the time to do the kind of research, and that person right out of the box who doesn't have the history to say, I've got a great reputation or I got a bad reputation?
No. The reality is that what is driving quality, what is protecting consumers, has nothing to do with the government granting permission to them. It is the competition and the power of reputation, because before you, taking your hypothetical, before you call up me and say, oh, I need you to litigate a constitutional case, what you do is you go to a friend and you ask that friend, who's good at constitutional litigation? And he says, oh, I don't know, but you can ask this person. And you gather that information, and that information is readily...
Too much work. All I know is the guy's got certified from the government. He must be good. Give me an idea of some of the jobs that require, not just in Colorado, but around the nation, that require you go to the government, go get training in a certain area so you can get that magic piece of paper to say, now I can start a job.
So in Colorado, you are one of 4 states, only 4 states, that licenses psychiatric technicians. 30, 40s,
what exactly is a psychiatric technician?
Well, I don't know what a psychiatric technician is.
Are we talking about a shrink?
We are talking about someone who perhaps aids a shrink. But somehow 46 other states have decided that there's not such an epidemic that they need to license psychiatric technicians.
You don't understand. Colorado is a schizophrenic place. We're left or right, we go Republican, Democrat. We got some serious mental problems, so we need that certification.
But you do it quite arbitrarily. You license in the good state of Colorado athletic trainers, and you require them to have 50 times the amount of training that an EMT has. So the man...
Whoa, time. Let me. So you go to the gym, and there's some guy there who's an athletic trainer, and you pay him some money for his advice and to yell at you while you're on the treadmill. He has 50 times more training than the guy who's going to save my life with the paddles. Pump.
Yes. So the guy who is literally has your heart in his hand and is racing you to the airport needs about 26 days of training in Colorado. The guy who is making you sweat and yell at you, questioning your manhood, more than 1,400 days of training. Seems rather arbitrary, doesn't it?
What you're arguing is that the EMT needs to have more training to meet that level.
Wrong, John. Wrong.
That was known as a softball question.
Yes. No. The reason why Colorado only requires 26 days is because it really wants EMTs. It doesn't want to force the scarcity that licensing causes. And when the state imposes barriers to entry, it's causing fewer people to get over those barriers, fewer people to be able to work.
There's another side of this. We can look at this and say, damn that government, they want to license guitar teachers. But when you're that guitar teacher and you've gone through the training and you have that piece of paper, you now become part of a protected class, and you have an incentive to make sure that if you're not certified, you don't compete with me. We seem to think that this is a terrible government thing, and that partly is, but it's also a protection racket for people who have those jobs or those industries.
It is the medieval cartels of Middle Europe being exported to the United States in the 21st century. In the 1950s, only 5% of workers needed a government license to work. Today, in Colorado and across the country, 25%. And who's asking for that? The very people who want that type of protection. It's the industry itself.
All right, give me that statistic again. You're telling me that 25% of people who have jobs need some sort of certification?
Yes. It is.
No, that's impossible.
It is certainly possible.
How is that possible?
It is part partly, but only partly, the growth of the service industry. But the majority of that growth has occurred by people walking up the steps of the state capitol saying, Mr. State Legislator, please regulate me. I want to be regulated.
And I figured out how this happens, and it hit me when I met a woman, blanking out on her name, she lives in another state, and she was an interior designer. People would hire her to help poor schmucks like me who think the old Cheryl Tiegs poster is fine art for my wall. And say, no, really what you need is this. And her business was going along. There's an association of interior designers, and they would go state by state and say, if you pass through our certification process, then you're a certified one, and we should make it the law that you have to go through our certification or one as good as ours, and therefore, in order to work. Now she's looking at this thinking, wait a second, why do I want to go to your training? I've been doing this for years. I've got customers who, if they don't like me, will fire me, not pay me, ruin my reputation. I'll never get hired again. But now I have to pay money to you to go through classes so I can go to the state and get a piece of paper.
Absolutely. The trade association, the American Society for Interior Designers, is quite active in trying to grow the number of states. Today, Colorado doesn't require a license to do interior design, but Nevada does. So does Louisiana, the District of Columbia. And that's 6 years of training, including 2 years of apprenticeship to be able to...
So in order to tell me that my orange vinyl couch clashes with my green shag carpet, somebody has to have 6 years of training, 2 years of being an apprentice before that opinion is valid.
In the state of Nevada and in 3 other jurisdictions, wow. That's absolutely right. Now, one of the fun things about that is the District of Columbia is one of those jurisdictions. And when Mrs. Obama wanted to redo the White House, she chose an unlicensed interior designer from California. So for those of us advocating for greater freedom in labor markets and getting rid of occupational licensing laws, Mrs. Obama is a hero.
No, she's a scofflaw. She broke the law. Was she brought in? This is bigger than Watergate. She broke the law in the White House.
She did, but then she claimed that the White House was federal property and that the District of Columbia's licensing laws of interior design did not reach federal property.
Isn't all of D.C. federal property?
There may be some private property there.
Give me the answer to this. I mean, and when you start hearing about it, it makes sense. You think the guy who's going to dye your hair, you want him to know what he's doing. So shouldn't there be a cosmetology license, or you're saying there shouldn't be any licensure at all?
What we're saying is that there are lots of private solutions, that certification is a great way of signaling to people who are uncertain about reputation who has certain personal qualifications. So you may choose to go to a certified mechanic or a certified financial planner. The government doesn't have to be involved in sending market signals as to who has those personal qualifications.
Because those things grow naturally anyway. That's why some places, some products have the Good Housekeeping seal of approval. That's why some motels have a AAA rating. It's why there's Moody's ratings for investments, and it's why there's Consumer Reports. And those things in industry start popping up, and you do that for everything from people who value homes, do appraisals. They've got their thing too, but I hope to God it isn't from the state, because the last thing they need to do is get involved in my life. People want more information. Where do they go?
Where they can go is to the Institute for Justice's website, which is very simple. It's ij.org. And these cases that we've brought on behalf of hair braiders and animal massage therapists, and the research that we've done, including license to work, is under our these are our economic liberty cases.
You can grab this report, License to Work, from IJ on the webpage.
You can, and you can go right to the Colorado page and see how we rank Colorado.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned.